Okay, so the next panel, COVID-19 is an accelerant in conjunction with social media to a pending recession. I know Travis and Joel, the Bad Crypto Podcast, unfortunately, because we're running late, can no longer moderate, so I will be doing that. And we will be including, I think Samson Williams may or may not be able to join us, Alan Stevo, Kai Primo, Bradley Kimes, and Alyze Sam. So if you guys wouldn't mind, if your name was called, just join in on the audio and the visual. That would be great. We'll get this thing kicked off. And David, if you want to stay on, you're more than welcome as well.
It's a lot of opinions on COVID, a lot of opinions.
You can call him. I know that worked for you last time. Anybody else who wants to, who's a speaker, who's on here that wants to join in and talk about social media and COVID as an accelerant to a pending recession, we have a few spots available now because we're running late. People had to drop, so feel free to join in. Perfect. So we're just going to get this started. So, you know, I'll open it up. You guys have already given some introduction. Actually, David, you didn't have proper time to give an introduction. So why don't you let people know a little bit about, you know, what you've done, what you're doing with Gokshtein magazine, and the way in which you're influencing the Bitcoin blockchain space.
My name is David Gokshtein. I am the founder of Gokshtein Media. We do have a magazine. Gokshtein.com is where you can pick it up. We try to come out with magazines every single month. We talk about, you know, obviously blockchain and cryptocurrency 85% of the time, and 15% of the time we talk about everything other than that, like issues like this, COVID-19, and covering lifestyle and all sorts of other stuff. So it's a good thing to get away from just, you know, being stuck and immersed in blockchain all the time, and just, you know, read about something a little bit more, you know, I would say, I don't want to say positive, but a little bit more refreshing. Yeah. And that's about it. And I'm just, you know, obviously right now I'm running for Congress, and I'm just trying to get blockchain out there, trying to put a voice to blockchain. That's how I'll put it. Get blockchain out there, right, Oz? Try to get blockchain out there so people can know.
I should note that too. David's running for Congress out on Long Island, and I'm running for state senate, also on a blockchain platform in 30 in Harlem.
Nice.
We announced the campaign in about 2 weeks. Hey, Kyle.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Hey, everyone.
Kyle Kemper.
How's it going?
Let's do a brief intro for you as well before we get started.
Sure. So I'm Kyle Kemper. That's my name. Crypto and blockchain is my game. I like hosting decentralized dance parties, and in these times of kind of darkness, shedding light for everybody in attendance. Everybody's welcome tonight and tomorrow night for an awesome party. Yeah, and I'm the founder of Swiss Key, which is a universal super wallet app that's in development right now to allow us to be in full custody of our digital identity and digital monies. And yeah, speaking on a panel in a little bit, but heeding Jeremy's call to hop in. And I like the spirit.
I appreciate it. So, there's a lot of technical issues. It's a new platform. We're doing the best we can, trying to bring crypto to the internet. You know, crypto's already on the internet, but the way in which we interact is typically just on Twitter, right? We don't see each other's faces. People are hiding behind a keyboard. So it's about time we show our faces and talk about these issues. So with that said, you know, social media is really interesting in the sense that, you know, it really accelerates things in terms of, you know, messaging. I mean, you look back and Oz, I'm going to pass it over to you shortly because I know you have a lot of thoughts about this specifically. But the way in which things spread in terms of fear are exacerbated by social media, right? In a way that never before was done in history. right? Maybe somebody could press a few buttons on the telegraph and send somebody a message just saying, you know, war is impending. But within 1 second from the opposite side of the world, somebody can give you a heads up of something that's impending, that's coming. That could give you a sense of fear, whether it's credible or not. And then you have to deal with these potential bots and these scam accounts of people that are trying to negatively influence markets and perceptions. And it's really hard to even sort through the noise, right? So it's on us. And this is, you know, one of the core tenets of CoinGenius is we really try to sort through the noise. And all the things that we release has been vetted for the last couple of years, and sorting through the noise and trying to normalize the data in such a way to where you're actually getting as close to the truth as humanly possible. We're not going to be perfect. Nobody is. But that's the goal. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to you, Oz, and then David and Kyle. Nick, thanks for joining us as well. I know this is an interesting topic, so I'll pass it over to you, Oz, to start, and then we'll kick it off.
Hey,
absolutely. So I just shared a article I published in the Army Cyber Defense Review last year, and it talks about, you know, developing standard operating procedures for dealing with these things, but it also kind of speaks to what the Russian propaganda amplification machine is and how that works online. And what the challenge that we have with disinformation inside of the public sphere around COVID is just, I think about the correlation in between searches on specific types of terms and the buy sells that happen with Bitcoin inside of the market, and the market volatility that relates from different type of social searches and different types of social sentiment. With COVID, what we're seeing is things that are triggering different events that are not things that we would want. So if you look at San Diego, you look at Los Angeles, you know, you've already got looting, right? And it's not large scale looting, but you've got clustered looting, and a lot of this stuff is being talked about on social media. If you go into the different segments of Twitter, based upon hashtag profiling, you can find a lot of you know, just anger, fear, and disillusion at what's going on. And we're only 3 weeks into this. As we go into the summer, as we go into market instability, as we go into financial instability for people, you have a real danger with social media being something that could, you know, span up hoopla, but at the same point in time, get people galvanized to do something. And I will tell you that there's 3 events that are coming up that are super duper dangerous. There's a conservative protest that's scheduled for DC that I don't think should happen. There's a Bernie Bros protest that's scheduled for the 12th across the United States, where they're talking about breaking every single quarantine to go and protest the fact that Bernie is not the nominee. And then there's the ultra violent Bernie Bros that are the, you know, they're the Bernie or bust anti-Biden folks that are talking about ongoing protests throughout the summer. And, you know, you're seeing this on both sides of the aisle, but that coupled with what's going on in terms of social sentiment, and just take a look at the amplification funnel that I talk about in that article, because I don't want to talk for 10 or 15 minutes. Those are the danger factors that we really have to consider as we go into the summer.
Yes. Can anyone hear? Anybody?
All right. Muted.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Nick, I'm going to pass it over to you. What are your thoughts on all this and how social
I
media
wanted to hear from Alan Stevo again. I think Alan Stevo has a great answer for this. Are you on, Alan Stevo?
Nice. He's dialed in.
Well, I think people should be able to do what they want, of course. This is America. I mean, yes, there's an incredible virus. I have probably 7 strikes against me with this virus, so if anyone gets close enough, I'll probably shoot them. But, you know, what can I tell you? I don't want to go against the Constitution. That's funny. Come over. So I don't really want to go against people's, I don't want to go against the Constitution, of course. I mean, we're in a conundrum. Are we going to trade safety for freedom? Because, like I said earlier, I think that the more we give away, we never get them back. You know, I don't know if you remember before 9/11. I think 9/11 was used as an excuse to implement all these laws, the Patriot Act and things like that. So I wonder, I mean, and that was just an event in one day, before noon. Everything happened before noon. So this thing here is happening and happening and happening. Who knows what they're sliding into these bills? And I'm not sure. You guys are from the West Coast there. I don't know what I don't know if you want total control over everybody. That's cool. Whatever. You can probably achieve that if you're promoting that, but that's going to be over a lot of people's ability to exercise their Second Amendment right. So I think you got to figure out what's important to you and figure out the people that are in charge, the people that we did get into office. As a matter of fact, I put a lot of people in office over the years, and they're nice going in, and then they turn, they want to stay in, and they'll sell out everybody, because at first they raise money from friends and family, and then the lobbyists every 2 years, a congressperson has to run every 2 years. They got to raise money, so they're taking the lobbyist money, and then they're beholden to other people. So I think we have to watch and be very, very careful what the hell's happening right now, and read the goddamn bills. And you'd probably be very surprised what they're putting in those bills. I didn't read them, but you'd probably be very surprised.
If I could just add to that, and this is my plug again, the Earn It Act, which is on the floor in Congress, which is talking about taking away all of the privacy rights around encryption, is something that every person who's watching this should call. Don't email, call your congressperson. And their numbers are listed on the congressional switchboard. Call them and lodge a complaint, because the way that they weigh whether or not they should vote for this is the number of calls they get. And trust me, they're listening.
Handwritten also. We passed in the House the Audit the Fed bill, and we were going to audit the Federal Reserve, and we passed it in the House. But then, and we thought we were going to pass it in the Senate, but Mr. Bernie Sanders, Senator Bernie Sanders, told us that we had his vote and one of his colleagues' vote, and then at the last minute, he voted against auditing the Federal Reserve, and then he wrote audit the Federal Reserve bill of his own, wrote one on his own, and took all the teeth out of it. So I don't know. You guys love Bernie. I don't know.
I'm more pissed off that we didn't have PPE for. I'm more angry that we didn't have enough PPE here for our healthcare professionals. I have family in the medical field, and literally going into hospitals with no equipment, trying to treat patients with COVID. So that's what I'm more pissed off about. And we sold all of our stuff
to other
countries.
Bernie? I don't get where you got the correlation.
No, I just wanted to say something about COVID real quick.
Oh, all right.
Forget about Bernie. I'm not a huge fan of Bernie.
So Alan, can you hear us? Are you still on?
I think he's going to come on at the end and rank us all out.
So Bradley, I'll turn it over to you. What are your thoughts on all of this? And a question that we'll kind of transition to now. Outside of social media, we realize that obviously it accelerates things. The share of information across the world is incredible in terms of, making people aware of situations and events. But the real thought is we were already on path to a potential recession. A lot of people think a depression. And COVID-19 is acting, in our opinions, as an accelerant to that, exacerbated further by social media and the way in which we can spread this information very quickly. So what are your thoughts on COVID-19 acting as an accelerant to an already impending recession, and do you agree with those statements?
Well, I do agree with those statements, and thank you for having me. You can hear me correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So just make sure you can hear me. So thank you for having me, Jeremy. It's a pleasure to be here. And first, real quick, I just wanted to caveat, right or left, if you're looking to government or politicians to lead you, you're already lost. And we were into an economic collapse well before there was a current health event, which is what I call COVID, because I have a YouTube channel. And when I said it, before it was okay to say it, before they sent out a bulletin that's saying that you could say it to other YouTubers, I got banned for it. You know, there is something very wrong going on here, as much as there's something very right going on here, in a world where we're trying to decentralize and use algorithms to take us to these beautiful utopian places. And I'm experiencing the other side of that, as much as I'm excited about where we can go with everything that we're talking about. But to your point, Jeremy, there was absolutely an economic collapse that was on its way across the globe, sweeping across the globe, specifically pointing to the repo market, which a co-host of mine, Cryptopolis, on Fridays, and myself had reporting on since last year, in the repo market of the banking sector, where banks will go in that particular market to borrow excess cash from other banks to make their books whole by next business day. A gap started to happen in that market, and that gap continued to widen and continued to widen. That is a very big place where you can start to see a superimposing of 2008 was happening all over again when we had the AIG collapse back in 2008, and it showed up. I come from a financial investment place, so it doesn't matter who's in office, it's what they're doing with the money. And what they seem to do with the money every time is they seem to make sure the money stays up top and it doesn't distribute. If you look at what's happening right now, a month and a half ago, the largest banks in the world sat at a table with the current administration and the president and told them they had the liquidity and the capitalization and everything was fine. Well, we just passed a bill with trillions of dollars to give to those same exact banks. Now, do you think you're going to get that money? You know what I mean? Do you think it's going to pass down, whether it's the last administration or this administration? It really doesn't matter. What you're actually seeing is an exercise of socialism and the spread of socialism. Because if you want to get down to what the country should be, which is capitalism, it isn't capitalism, because capitalism has two very, very important components in it, and it's profit and loss. So and when Bradley, you start hearing people talk about too big to fail, which happened in the last administration and the one before that and the one that we're currently in, the too big to fails come in, and that is, by its very definition, is socialism. Because the reality is, if a big GM factory or a big GE factory collapses, everybody thinks, oh, all these people are going to lose their jobs. They're not going to lose their jobs. A new investor group will come in and buy that company, probably pennies on the dollar, but everybody's still going to need cars. Everybody's still going to need whatever that service product Bradley, or good is.
I'm so sorry I have to interrupt. We just don't have a lot of time. We have a lot of people that are trying to contribute.
I totally get it.
All fair points. So, Kyle, you haven't had a chance really to say anything, and I'm going to move over to David in that order. If you guys can comment on the thoughts and questions that I just posed.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, one of the things that I think Bradley just highlighted is the fact that a lot of this stimulus money and this new money created is going directly to like the big legacy power brokers and power players. And with this technology, there's really the opportunity to actually do direct distribution out to everybody. And this is, you know, this might be that black swan event in which enables us to, you know, realize digital currencies. And I know, like, you know, on the Canadian side, they're evaluating it heavily. On the American side, like, you know, the discussions are going on about how we can create digital rails. And, you know, there's an interesting like question to be sought after around, you know, this notion of, in Canada, for example, right now, they're just blanket saying, we'll give you $2,000 a month if you've been affected in any way by this crisis. And it's like, okay, great, but how do you do that? And when you just give everybody that money, you're not necessarily servicing needs. You're just actually giving everybody this paycheck. Whereas, you know, speaking of blockchain technology, I was introduced to this protocol called Request.network that works with Ethereum that allows you to, if you know, so the example was with MakerDAO. So MakerDAO offers micro grants to anybody who wants to host a meetup. You fill out a form, and then at the bottom of the form, it says, this is our Ethereum address. Use Request Network to make a request from us. So you go and you fill out the form, and then you put your address, you put their address in, you put your address in, and you set the amount of money, and you create a request. On their dashboard, they're getting this request, and they can instantly approve and distribute the funds. We have the opportunity to move from this blind distribution method into actually like an apportioned needs-based solution using this technology. And that can actually enable people to have to ask for help and describe what they need help for, and be able to request that from either a government. It doesn't have to be a government. It could come from a DAO. It could come from philanthropists. It could come from any number of sources. And this is something that gets me really excited because A, it's using the underlying technology, and B, it's another like primer for this, and C, this is a much more effective means of distribution that can get this newly created stimulus money actually into the pockets of the people and not into the large financial players. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
David?
Man, my speech will probably take 30 minutes, but I'm gonna try to give you cliff notes. First of all, I think the stimulus package for people. I'm gonna base it on New York right now. People in New York, people make definitely over 75,000 over, right, Nick? So like nobody's gonna see these checks.
I hope to make over 75.
I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say
my neighborhood. My neighborhood's getting the checks. Brooklyn's getting the checks. Queens getting the checks, and the Bronx is getting the checks. Because my AMI over here is about 40,000.
How many? Like, all right, but
how many are
realistically,
get
how many people are going to
17 million people? 17 million people in New York. I'm going to tell you, about 8 million are going to get checks.
Okay, I would have loved to see.
If I get hungry enough, I'm going to go out there and grab what I need.
But you have to look where the AMI, the average median income, is under 75,000, and that's 3 boroughs.
All I'm saying is that money is not enough for people in New York. You take 75,000 after taxes, it leaves you with what?
Half of your rent.
Some rents are at what? 20?
Maybe a third of your rent.
2,200. What?
I said maybe a third or a half of your rent.
I'm breaking up, so I'm trying to hear.
Yeah, it's a third or a half of your rent. I mean, the challenge that you have with any major city is that, it's kind of like the Bush $400 check. It's a nice to have, but it's not really going to affect anything at the end of the day.
So for me personally, those checks are nice for people that live in Ohio. It's really not going to help anybody living in New York. That's really where I'm going with that. The big boys, though, Wall Street, they got saved again. God bless. But, taxpayers once again went ahead and paid for that. And to me, I feel like everybody, zip code, it should have been done by zip codes. And this is where I said this is going to take 30 minutes into me diving into my own personal philosophy about this. But I feel like there's a lot of people that I talk to personally that, they're not going to get the stimulus check. They pay higher rents. It's not their fault that they live in New York. They'll, if it's too high, then move. No, you're born in New York. You want to stay in New York. You don't want to move to go get a check from the government. And the check is like, here you go, guys. Here's some little crumbs. And let's give the rest off to the big boys at 0%.
The check is the tipping point, because the rest of this is extended unemployment benefits for a lot of New Yorkers and a lot of Americans, and but the systems are overwhelmed.
And I agree.
And the challenge that people are going to have is they're sitting there panicking because they can't get their form in, and it takes time. It might take 6 weeks to get something in.
But that's 4 months of. 4 months, and everybody in New York, most of people in New York will get $1,100 if they don't tax it. After taxes, might be a little bit less than that, right? So you'll probably receive $4,000 a month for the next 4 months, unless Congress does something by extending the program. Correct?
Correct.
So real quick, we're about to wrap up here. I just want to make sure, is Alan? I know you're saying you're on. I just want to make sure, can you actually speak and just test the mic here? Love to hear your thoughts.
Can you guys hear me?
All right, we'll have him join a future panel as well. Okay, guys, well, we have about 2 minutes. I know this is a really hot topic, and everybody here is very opinionated, which is great. Makes for a really good conversation. Any final thoughts about this, and maybe even what people should consider or think about moving forward as it relates to dealing with this global pandemic?
Yeah, I think
say that one more time. You cut off. I'm so sorry.
Am I on here?
Right. Sorry, Nick.
I think I'll go first. Okay, I'll go first and fast. I think we have to make sure that we don't get our rights taken away. I'm obese and I have a blood disorder and a piece of my lung is all messed up and my spleen has been removed and I have all kinds of stuff wrong with me. But I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see these bills roll through where the rest of my life I'm going to look back and say, oh, those were the days when I can wait for someone at the restaurant at the airport. You know what I mean? I mean, this is ridiculous. Whatever happens here, we got to keep our eyes on these bastards because they're all sleazebags. I put a lot of people in office. I'm not saying that you guys are nice guys now, but when you need money after you get elected, hopefully you get elected, you're going to turn into sleazebags also, right? I've been selling voter registration data, and I wrote campaign management software since the 80s. Okay, I know all about it. You're not going to tell me. I'm going to tell you stuff that you're going to think of in 15 years. So whatever. We just got to keep an eye on these guys because it's ridiculous what's about to happen to us. So lather up because it's coming. Who's next?
Yeah.
Well, everybody wanted Bernie Sanders in, right?
No one wanted Bernie Sanders.
We had it. We had it like this. Ordered the Fed, and he fucked us. I had 100,000 people chase down politicians for months, and they signed it because they didn't want the Ron Paulists chasing them down. Well, I organized that, and that guy fucked me. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure, Nick. How did you really feel?
Nick, tell us how you feel.
Guys, look, we live in a very interesting time.
I just have one.
There's a lot going on here.
Socialism.
Right.
Why don't you go look at the stores right now at the markets? Go stand in line. That's socialism. You'll be standing in line 6 feet apart, except that you're gonna have stuff in the supermarket. Unlike real socialism outside of here. But
I just donated money today to Pastor Jack. Sorry, I was gonna say I just donated money today to Pastor Jack because we have locals here in Harlem that are willing to stand in line at the church to get food, because every single wage worker. This is what no one's thinking about. All right, most of New York City is run by people who are wage workers. Most of your major cities are run by this. Okay, these are people who are making anywhere between 10 and 25 bucks an hour. Their jobs are gone. The buildings are closed. There's nothing to clean. There's nothing to pick up, and these are the people who are going to be, these are the most at-risk Americans. These are the people who are going to be affected. They put every single server, every single bartender out of work. This was Cuomo, and I understand the rationale behind it because we have to isolate. But where do you think these people are going to be in 3 months?
Hey, guys. I wish I could keep this going. Really, this is an incredible conversation. But unfortunately, we're already running 32 minutes behind now. So let's open it up to the next panel.
Jeremy, look at the ratings. Look at the ratings.
The ratings are through the roof. Man, seriously, thanks everybody for joining this panel. This was great. For those of you listening in, we are going to publish this on CoinGenius.ai in our media library after this, all of these talks, so you can always go back and listen. And we might just invite all of you on this panel back to a specific session on this topic and just let you guys go. So
can I give Kyle a plug real quick?
There's hair and makeup, dude. I mean, what the fuck?
If it's guys,
do you mind just real quick? Can I give Kyle a plug? Yeah. So what you see behind Kyle Kemper is Swiss Key, and what Kyle Kemper is trying to do is he's trying to bring crypto to the masses. And his goal of bringing crypto to the masses is that the average person, if they're able to buy and sell inside of any of these paradigms, if you go to every single bodega inside of New York City, it'll say 3.99% fee, and I'll give you a 4 to 5% cash discount if you pay in cash. Okay, the guy has a $350 terminal. These people are leasing their terminal for $70 a month. So Kyle has a solution.
$2 million on a bit license, and keep like I did, and still keep waiting for it.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for that plug. On that note, we're going to end this. You guys go ahead and drop off. Thank you again. We'll talk soon.
Great to be with all of you. Thank you so much.
Likewise, guys.
Thank you.
Safe out there.
Gokshtein 2020.
All right.
Nick,
Christina
tell us how you really feel.
Christina started to set you